Hello, 13840 Denton Drive investors. I'm Nick DeLeon. I'm here with Scott Hare, and we're going to give you the September 2025 update via this new PowerPoint presentation format, usually which is kind of me presenting. We didn't have an update for August or a detailed update for August, so we have a lot of great updates for you on the sale process and how the property is performing. So just a financial snapshot. As you've seen from the previous updates, cash flow at the property has been aligned with our projections, so that allowed us to send off distributions to you, which has been a return on capital. And that's been projected about an annualized 2.75% cash on cash. We sent out the first two. The third one was paid out last week, so you should get it this week. So if you have any issues with that, let us know. We had one person kind of get disconnected from the system via Plaid, but those distributions should be sent to your bank account. About a month or so ago, we also sent a return of capital, right? So we overraised for the investment. We didn't want to hold on to the capital, so we returned about $150,000 in total, which equated to about 7.32% of your investment. We got confirmation from the system that those distributions went out, but if you're having any issues or questions, just let us know. We'll turn it over to Scott to talk about the capital projects.
Thanks, Nick. So I know in discussions and so forth, a lot of you guys already knew this, but the building was actually in really good shape. Our inspection reports came back, everything looked good, but there were some cracks that we wanted to have repaired. We were able to get through negotiations and get the seller to escrow $40,000 to go towards that. That actually paid for the vast majority of all the work we did. We were out $4,000 or $5,000, but very little. That included a crack in the northwest drive-in door, which you see on the left here. It doesn't look too big in the photo, but if you saw it in person, the thing was just really extremely noticeable, let's just say. So it looks beautiful now, flat as a pancake. It looks much better than before. Also, the parking lot, there are a few issues. Again, it's hard for the photos to portray really what is going on there. You can see the cracks and so forth, but there's some just massive potholes, and Corey's forklifts would often just come unstable, not to the point they're going to fall over. Just it was bouncy, and when you're carrying a bunch of wood, they don't like that. So we repaired that. Looks great now. I actually got a couple of compliments from the drivers, so we feel good about that. Again, the escrow account set up by the seller paid for the vast majority of all that, so we were out just very little money. Also, there are a few roof repairs that were mentioned in the roof report. Minor things like there was I think a couple of fireworks was landed on the roof. There's minor little burns in the roof that were repaired. Mounted about $4,000 or $5,000, and that's really the amount that was taken out of that we ended up paying ourselves. Um, let's go ahead and go to that next slide. Good. Okay. Thanks, Nick. So the sale process. So actually, that's going extremely well. As you all know, we talked about holding off for a year to get capital gains. In discussions with quite a few people, just about everybody's told me, and I think Nick as well, that look, if we found a buyer and a good price, go ahead and take it. So we're exploring that option. Frankly, we kind of put it out there just to test the market a little bit in anticipation of hiring a broker. We've gotten some really good results on our own. We may still hire a broker, but at least we'll have a good feel for what the real value is, and rely on our brokers to beat that. So, as you also probably know, Corey Construction did give us notice that they were not going to renew. They gave us official notice, stuck everything on LoopNet, Crexi. Again, that's where we've been getting the majority of our interest. As you see here, we've had roughly 148 investors primarily. some owner users reaching out, brokers. 87% of those, plus or minus, would prefer to buy the property. And there's reason for that. Really, we have focused more on the sale of it, and that sale listing gets a higher priority than the leasing listing. Uh, so once if we decide to hire a broker, that'll change. Um, the owner user interest has been a little lighter than we thought. We have had three or four, actually probably about, gosh, 6 or 7 owner users go through there. Um, Verbal, indication from one of the buyers, but they needed the tenant to be out right away. So far, Corey's told us that they're not, they just can't get out until end of April. So I don't think that buyer will be around. We do have 2 other groups, one in particular that is very interested, could get there, able to get a price. I think we're gonna have an issue with zoning though. They've got an existing business in Garland, want to consolidate everything in our building. Unfortunately, they've got a rental car business, and that's not allowed in where we're at. So most likely that deal won't move forward either. But this is off of just very limited marketing in our standpoint. The and as you see here, the offers that we have gotten from investors actually hit our numbers. We just think we can get better from an owner user. So really, if you're looking at downside of hitting our numbers, we think we're going to beat that. So let's go ahead and move to that next slide. Um, so we came out at a pretty high number. We never really thought we'd get $195 a foot. We did have a couple of brokers throw that out, saying that, the possibility. Uh, Brokers tend to exaggerate a little bit. We knew that. Based on what we've seen so far, I think the real price is going to be somewhere around $165 to $175 a square foot. Expected where it sells. I do think we can hit 4.4 million with the right buyer, particularly the right owner user buyer. We just have to find that group. We sent out some email campaigns um, off of email list that we've already have that we've collected from Crexi and LoopNet. Also on CCIM, we've been able to get access to some pretty good databases and basically researching existing businesses within a certain radius that we think would benefit from the outside storage. Things like construction companies, distribution companies, things of that nature, roofing companies in particular. Um, we've actually used that list, narrowed it down to the neighborhood. Physically, we've gone out with flyers, started visiting those businesses, dropping off flyers. We've actually got some decent, just from the one day we did it last week, actually got some pretty good results. One business owner down the street is interested. She's out of town, told us we'll hear back from her, I think, next week. So that worked out pretty well. Got another group to the south of us that knows the building, interested. Their lease is up. It's a little big for him. He wants to see if he can figure out how to make the numbers work. So got some decent results with just the amount of work we've done so far. Um, and as we previously said, so far all the LOIs have come from investors, not the owner users. I think once the owner users start surfacing, we're going to get some better action, some higher numbers. So we got next here.
Yeah, and Scott, I mean, that's like a really good point. The fact that we're hitting our base case with investors is kind of a little bit better than we expected. So if we can hit these owner users, like you said, we should be able to hit above our base case and maybe hit our upside scenario. Feeling really good about this. And this is the one-page flyer that we did the driving buyers campaign. This is the flyer that we're dropping off with the potential buyers.
All right.
So this is the next steps of the process and, selling the property. I don't know if you guys have seen, I've been pretty active on social media, putting content out there. there's a guy, Michael Comperto. Scott's actually worked with him, I guess, on a deal or two. Knows him out of New York. He used social media to promote the fact that they were defaulting on a property that they owned here in Carrollton in the DFW area. And they had over 300 CAs executed. You put this thing out on LinkedIn. Um, his intention seemed to be to sell the property. They ended up not foreclosing on the property. I think it gave him a lot of leverage in negotiating with the borrower and restructuring the loan. So we're gonna follow in his footsteps basically and try before we list with the broker. Hopefully we don't have to do that, and try out social media. We're gonna put it on LinkedIn, similar to Michael. We're gonna tag him. We're gonna tag a bunch of other people that opined on this thing, this social media experiment that he did. If you can kind of see in here, there were over 550 impressions, which is a ton on LinkedIn, 80 comments and 27 reposts. Not sure that we're going to get this traction. He's pretty popular on social media and putting content out, but we're going to give it a shot. It should be interesting. I think it got some radio promotion. He was on a podcast shortly after he did this, so it got a lot of attention within the real estate community. This was kind of the first time that someone tried to sell a property on social media. So we're going to do the same thing and hopefully capitalize and ride in the coattails of what Michael did here. Just like Scott mentioned, the driving for buyers, we're going to do that this week again, kind of hit some of the tenants, potential buyers that were not available last week, and see if we can get more owner users to look at the property. And just as Scott said before, this process, we planned on listing right around this time. The fact that we're getting investors kind of at our base case, this process kind of running on our own has been pretty fruitful. So we're going to continue to do it and kind of delayed going out with a third-party broker with that process. So, we're going to start talking with third-party brokers, 3 to 4 broker shops. We start a BOV process, which is a broker opinion of value. They explain their process on how they would market the property, how they target specific, we really want owner users, kind of what their plan is, that sort of thing, in parallel with all these other efforts. And if we can't get kind of the improvement on pricing that we're looking for by the end of October, we'd list the property with the broker. So that's our plan. That's the next steps. If you guys have any questions about the investment, feel free to reach out to me or Scott. Here's our contact information. We appreciate your time, guys. We appreciate you guys being investors in this deal. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.